The rookie profiles are wrapped up, which means it is time to get into our sleeper running back and tight end prospects in the 2025 rookie draft. We give you 8 more players you need to know about, but if there's any running back or any tight end that we don't break down in this episode that you want to learn more about, drop us a comment. We'll be happy to give you feedback and analysis on that player. All right, time to bring in John, and let's get to our 2025 sleepers. All right, John, time to talk sleepers here. We've got 6 running backs. We've got a couple tight ends to talk about here. Now, there's a lot of different definitions for a sleeper, but at least for this show, we're going to be considering a sleeper any player who we feel is relevant, draftable in fantasy drafts, but did not get a rookie profile episode. So there's going to be about 28 players that got full rookie profiles here. And there's just so many more players we want to talk about, but don't have time to do, 40, 50, 60 rookie profiles, right, John? So these are the guys who deserve a little bit of credit. And starting here with our first guy, he definitely deserves more credit. We talked about him a good amount in the rookie mock draft that we just did, but he deserves his own time to shine here. That's Damien Martinez, the running back out of Miami.
Matt, we probably could have done 10 more running backs only. There's just so many in this class, but we do have lives outside of our rookie studies. So we put Damien Martinez in this episode. He's an immediate breakout player at Oregon State, and you've got to be aware of that as a dynasty owner. At the age of 18, he was able to play with men. He had 161 carries for 982 yards and 7 touchdowns. He was freshman first team All-America. Matt, I fell in love with him back then as a college fantasy football runner. And then he posted back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with 2 different programs. He was still at Oregon State in 2023, 194 carries for 1,185 yards and 9 touchdowns. And he was named first team All Pac-12. Last year, he transfers to the University of Miami. He had 150 carries, and I still don't know how Mario Cristobal only gave him 150 carries, Matt, for 1,002 yards and 10 touchdowns, all ACC honorable mention. Unfortunately, he only has 32 career receptions, and you'll talk about it, I'm sure, in the film breakdown, which might limit his fantasy upside. But his BMI is 30.3, Matt, and at the combine, he was impressive with a 451 in the 40-yard dash and a 156 in the 10-yard split. My model also likes him. Scrimmage yards dominator is 25%. He's 5'11", 217. Matt, I know the NFL likes him more than any model or most people like this young man. The BMI is nice at 30.3, and he did have 24 runs of 10-plus yards this year. Matt, I know you've liked him watching the film. What do you think?
Yeah, with Damien Martinez, you talked about, John, that Oregon State production. And I do think that if you're going to do his tape justice, you need to at least watch 2023 Oregon State tape and 2024 Miami tape. Now, that being said, I still think he showed a lot of positive just in his 2024 Miami tape. He's a powerful back. You mentioned it, John. He came in at the combine at 217. I think that was to get that 40 time down. I bet he plays between 225 and 230 in the NFL. So we've got good size here, and he powers through the gaps here. He plays very well in between the tackles in particular. He's decisive. I really like Martinez's second level vision, but he does a great job anticipating space. When he sees space, he hits space. He's powerful. He's got great lower body strength. He's got good contact balance, and he finishes through runs. That makes him effective in short yardage situations and makes him effective at the goal line as well. You mentioned it, John, just 159 touches last season, but he had 10 touchdowns for Miami.
Yeah.
So he was still very much the go-to guy, right, when they got into the red zone. He's aggressive and he's reliable in pass protection. That's something we don't always think about for fantasy purposes, but that's going to help get him snaps early in his career. Here's the bottom line, folks. Damien Martinez, he wears down defenders over time, and he's proven that he is better as you get into the third and fourth quarter, right? And we did see examples of that against Miami, Florida State, Iowa State in the bowl game. When they gave him 15 to 20 touches in a game, he was going over 125, 150 yards. So what we want from Damien Martinez, or I should say what we know about Damien Martinez, is that he has the skill set where if he does have an opportunity either right away or through injury to carry the ball over 200 times in a season, he's going to be productive, he's going to be efficient, and he's going to be able to execute in short yardage and goal line situations, which means that for somebody who could be going late third round of your rookie drafts, he could return tremendous value. This is absolutely a running back I just don't think you can afford to sleep on. John, you mentioned it here with Damien Martinez, not so much of a PPR specialist, although I think he's got fine hands. The next guy we're going to talk about really pops out, in particular in PPR formats, and that's running back LeQuint Allen out of Syracuse. I've mentioned this before, but he was actually the 72nd prospect I watched, and my goodness, I'm so glad he made the cut. He's a really exciting prospect.
Oh, I completely agree with you. He's very exciting, Matt. And remember, he replaced Sean Tucker, who is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Syracuse. And I actually remember watching him pop in the bowl game against Minnesota 2 years ago. In that game, when Sean Tucker declared for the NFL draft, Allen had 15 carries for 94 yards and 11 catches for 60 yards, which is really going to tell a lot about him in his first game he ever had the majority of carries and touches. In the past 2 seasons, he has logged consecutive 1,000-yard campaigns. In 2023, he had 245 carries for 1,064 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was second team All-ACC at running back. Last year, he was even better, Matt. 228 carries for 1,021 yards and 16 touchdowns. He was honorable mention All-ACC, but as an all-purpose back. In his career, Matt, he had 119 receptions for 848 yards and 6 touchdowns. That is incredible utility as a pass catcher. There are 2 yellow flags that I'm a little concerned about with this young man. There are no time numbers in running drills at the combine or his pro day. So that's just a yellow flag. I think he looks football fast, but we don't have confirmation of his speed. And he has a low BMI, 27.7. He's long, he's lengthy, but he is good between the tackles, ironically. But Matt, what should our viewers know about him?
I'm glad you brought that up, John, because I think that's an important place to start. And I did lead by talking about his pass catching ability, because I think that should always perk up the ears of fantasy players. But between the tackles, he is very effective. And I think it comes down to his decisive vision. Allen anticipates space well. And most importantly, as soon as gaps open, he attacks them. He hits them. He's light on his feet. He's got a very clean one-cut style rushing. If you're into the one-cut runners, Allen definitely should pop out to you. But I will say, I think he's got a little inside-out ability. I do like his ability to work off tackle as well. He could fit into an outside zone scheme if you wanted him to, or he could kind of live more in between the tackles. But he's aggressive. The ball skills are so evident, though.
Oh,
He's able to react well to the ball. He catches balls thrown off target in stride. He's always catching the ball and continuing upfield. He understands that he's an extension of the passing game, not just a check down option. It's reliable hands, not a lot of drops on tape. In 8 of his games during the 2025 season, he caught at least 5 passes for Syracuse. And in those games, by the way, he's well over 15 touches on the ground, right? So they really were relying on him as a key piece of their offense. But I'm glad you mentioned your yellow flag, John, because that is, the balance. You might be saying, all right, then why is LeQuint Allen not a consensus day 2 pick, right? I think it's his lack of second gear and lack of breakaway speed, which makes sense why he doesn't want to test, right? Why he doesn't want to run in Indianapolis. And so I think that is what's going to, kind of couch LeQuint Allen as a day 3 pick. There are some drafts where, with his talent, he might be a day 2 running back, but it's such a talented group that we're going to have really good rushers falling to day 3. And if you like LeQuint Allen, that just works in your favor. It's going to create a little bit more value. It's going to lower his ADP, and you should absolutely still feel empowered and excited to draft LeQuint Allen late 3rd round of your rookie drafts, maybe even early in the 4th round of your rookie drafts if your league mates are really sleeping. All right, John, the next guy we're going to get into here, I'm excited about because I know you're a bit higher on him than I am. I do like him, but this is a really good example, I think, of sometimes where we differ in our, analytics versus film approach when we're studying prospects, and that's running back DJ Giddens out of Kansas State.
Our differences are not the only time I've noticed that model-oriented people like myself, and I love the film analytics studiers, more like yourself, have difference of opinions on this young man. First, our viewers should know he really wasn't someone in high school I think he was a 0-star recruit. He wasn't on anyone's radar. I don't think he even had a carry his freshman year, if my memory serves me well. So he's not someone who's been in the national spotlight, and he ends up at Kansas State. Now, if you're a hardcore college football fan like Matt and I, we know Kansas State, but your casual fan might not know what this young man has done on the field the last 2 years. He recorded 2 straight 1,000-yard campaigns for the Wildcats. In 2023, he had 223 carries for 1,226 yards and 10 touchdowns. He was honorable mention in the Big 12. In 2024, he had 205 carries for 1,343 yards and 7 touchdowns. He was even more efficient on the ground last year. He was second team All Big 12, and he was a semifinalist for the Doak Walker Award. In the past 2 seasons, Matt, he has 50 catches for 581 yards and 4 touchdowns. He finished his career at Kansas State 3rd all time with 3,087 yards. I was always a little concerned about his athleticism. I'm a healthy skeptic on any running back, but we got really nice confirmation. He ran a 4.43 in the 40, had a 10-yard split of 1.53, and a 20-yard shuttle of 4.33. Matt, he is athletic. Sometimes it doesn't always look at it or seem to be on the film. And in my model, Matt, scrimmage yards dominator of 29%. Nice body mass index, 28.7 at 6 foot, 212 pounds. And he had 36 runs last year of over 10 yards. Matt, my model likes him. I understand there are some concerns on the film that you and I probably share, but what do you want the viewers to know?
Yeah, Giddens is an exciting player. He's explosive. He's got that home run playability. I mean, you mentioned it, John. Watching college football, going back to the 2023 season, watching DJ Giddens and what he was able to do in the Kansas State offense was so exciting that he was on my must-watch list going into, through summer scouting to prep for this past season. And I watched him, and I was really disappointed. But I got to tell you, he still was really effective at the college level, and he was very productive, like you mentioned. What the positives are here for DJ Giddens, it really starts for me with his ability to be elusive, and he's especially elusive in tight space. I think he's got a really nice shifty running style, so if you're into the shifty runners, I think DJ Giddens is a really nice player for you, especially at that size, 6'0", 212. A lot of the times, the guys who are, pushing 6 foot can really lose leverage. I don't see that from DJ Giddens. I think he does really well to get low, win the pad level. He wins leverage, and that helps him look and play strong. So he's got good play strength. Unfortunately for DJ Giddens, where it ends, where the excitement ends for me, is he pretty much hits the two biggest red flags you can hit for me in a running back prospect. I don't like his vision. I think he's indecisive. I think he is unable to hit open gaps. He's not anticipating space being created for him, and he consistently misses cutback opportunities. So he'll give up on a play too early. I just don't think he has the vision. I don't think it's a matter of athleticism, like you said. And so that's a player who, when I'm worried about their vision, I might bump him back up a little bit if he gets behind an offensive line that I feel comfortable can create large gaps, right? But it limits his potential impactability overall, right? If there's less teams that I'm going to like. So we'll have to circle back to him post-combine in terms of how impactful that lack of vision is. The other big thing for me with DJ Giddens is I think he's got unreliable hands. When you watch his tape, you do see drops, and that's why I think this is a good example of and of course, John is watching plenty of tape as well, but you mentioned his career receptions number is really good. So if you're just looking at the numbers, you're like, wow, that's fantastic. But, Kansas State didn't have the ability to stop going to DJ Giddens when he dropped passes, right? They had to keep going back to him. He was the offense. But it's just a little bit too inconsistent, a little bit too unreliable with dropped balls, and it's just not that natural type of pass catcher like we're talking about with a guy like LeQuint Allen earlier who could catch the ball in stride, continue moving upfield. Giddens probably will go in the third round of your rookie drafts because there are definitely the Giddens hive and fans out there. So I think if you are excited about him, third round is the right spot to take him in, and he definitely deserves this profile and definitely deserves to be talked about. And I got to tell you, John, I can think of something else that definitely deserves to be talked about, and that is the resources available over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. Folks, if you're watching a video about sleepers for your fantasy football drafts, you need to be in on patreon.com/rookiebigboard. As you prepare for your rookie drafts, you can get access to our full in-depth rookie rankings with over 130 players ranked, directly comparable to our dynasty rankings. Every single dynasty player, our Devy rankings, over 250 Devy players. You get access to the 108-page rookie guide, which is now available, and volume 2, which comes out the Monday after the NFL draft. You get access to our full NFL projections for every single NFL player, and by the Monday of the NFL draft, that will include every single rookie drafted. All of that available for just $5 a month over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. All right, John, we started off with some running backs, but we are not ignoring the tight ends. The first guy we're going to talk about here, Mason Taylor out of LSU, is a tight end who I personally am a pretty big fan of.
I am too. He's actually my third-rated tight end, and that might shock some people.
Doesn't shock me.
And we talked about him on our mock draft last week. I really like him in the third round of drafts this year. He's a consistent pass catcher in a pass-heavy offense in the best conference in the nation. Matt, he played in the SEC for LSU. And he's had a little bit of competition on that roster, Matt. He had two players named Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas at wide receiver. So it's not like he's going to get peppered with targets his first 2 years in the program. And in the last 3 seasons, Matt, 38, 36, and 55 catches. I love that type of production annually. He averaged 10.1 yards per catch in his career, and he scored 6 touchdowns. And last year, he was third team all SEC. What I was shocked when I found out, Matt, he is the only tight end in LSU history with over 100 catches and 1,000 yards. I would have just thought that someone had exceeded those numbers because they've been so pass heavy the last 8 years or so. And when I looked at him in my model, Matt, I like big butts in my tight ends. 6'5", 255. He had his aerial dominator this year. 13% by a tight end is really impressive, everyone. His catch rate was 66% this year, but he had a young quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier was the first year starting after Jaden Daniels left. He had 129 career receptions. Matt, my model likes him. I do think he has the NFL bloodlines with his father, Jason. What's your film study? Why do you have him at number 3 also?
Yeah, he's right there, number 3 in my tight end rankings, and he's solidly locked into that spot. And for me, it's the reliable hands, first and foremost. He is a pass catcher. He's not just a pass catcher, but he's reliable, and he wins over the middle of the field. He wins in traffic. I appreciate that a lot. A guy who's 6'5", 255, who's a fluid mover. He can win over the middle, and he's got reliable hands, and he can adjust well to balls thrown off target. He's a legitimate pass catcher. I like his quickness in terms of short area quickness for a guy who's 6'5", 255. I find it pretty impressive on tape. And he's not the most technically sound route runner, which isn't surprising from a tight end, but I do think he runs the bottom of the tree well. You know, the drags, the outs. He's got a good he's got a good slant again for the tight end position. And so he does enough where he can be utilized in an NFL offense and legitimately get 60 to 75 targets as a rookie, which is a fantastic projection for a rookie tight end. In terms of getting on the field quickly, I think his blocking ability is really going to help him. And I know fantasy blocking, who cares? I care. It means you're going to get on the field. He seals the edge very well, run blocking. He pull blocks very well. He hits his assignments. He's a high IQ player overall, and I do think that really shows through when he's blocking. He's aggressive. He finishes through the end of his blocks. I've said this before, John, but I'm just putting this out to the world. Do not be surprised if Mason Taylor ends up being a top 50 NFL draft pick.
Woo!
And then he's going to carry some really nice draft capital that could propel him maybe even into the late second round of your rookie drafts. He's definitely somebody that you want to know about now. Now, before we get into the next tight end here, I just want to throw it out here. We're covering as many sleepers as we can. If there's a running back or tight end who you want to know more about that's not in this video, drop us a comment, ask us about them. We'll give you that written response so we can at least get you some feedback and insight on that player that you really want to know about. And a player who I really want you to know about is Terrance Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon. This is somebody who I am locked in on as you get into the 4th round of your rookie drafts.
Yeah, and I've grown to like him more and more over the process of the last 3 months. When I think of Oregon, obviously the passing game, the elite quarterbacks, Heisman winners. They've had some very good college level wide receivers, running backs, who have not necessarily transitioned to the NFL, but been highly productive. But Terrance Ferguson, Matt, he's been so good over the past 2 seasons and very quietly. He had 2023, 42 catches for 414 yards and 6 touchdowns. By the coaches of the conference, he was first team all Pac-12. Last year, 43 receptions for 591 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was named 3rd team all Big Ten. Remember, Oregon transitioned from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. He leaves the school as the all-time leader among tight ends in receptions with 134, receiving touchdowns with 16, and he ranks 2nd all-time with 1,537 receiving yards. And if you study tight ends, that's a big number for the position. What really kind of convinced me, I had been watching him in January, watched him in the playoffs, but then he went to the combine, Matt, and I did not expect the athleticism that he showcased. 4.63 in the 40-yard dash, 10-yard split was 1.55, but his burst and explosion was there in the vertical with the 39 and the broad jump with 10-2. So my eyeballs were open. I watched more film afterwards, and I plug him in my model map. Despite being a tight end at Oregon, he had a 15% aerial dominator this year. That's a healthy number. 62% catch rate, and he averaged 11.5 yards per catch. Matt, I think the NFL is going to really like this young man. By the tone of your voice earlier, I have a feeling you do too. Should our viewers?
Yeah, he checks all the boxes you're looking for in a fantasy football tight end. And I know a lot of folks out there like to designate that fourth round pick in deeper leagues, that fifth round pick for a tight end to take an upside shot on, right? Because we've talked about it before. If you can hit on a rookie tight end, there's no small hits, they're big hits. And with Terrance Ferguson, he's got a lot of the things we're looking for in a tight end that can have a big hit. He's got good ball tracking ability, excellent hands, folks. He catches everything on target and he catches everything off target as well. He's got a nice catch radius. He reacts well to balls thrown behind him, to balls thrown high. He's got good lateral movement ability. You mentioned his athleticism, and it is absolutely evident on tape. He speeds up quickly for a guy who's 247, so he gets right into his routes, and it helps him separate and win over the middle of the field. Now, Ferguson, a nice little plus here for me is that he can win before and after the catch. I mean, he's got fluidity. He's got a little bit of shake. More importantly, he's tenacious. He's got good contact balance. He runs through defensive backs that try to drag him down. Now, I will say, Ferguson, he's a bit of a basic route runner, which again, for the tight end position, it's not that big of a deal, but he's not really sharp in terms of his footwork. He's not running complicated routes, and certainly not in the Oregon offense. They barely ask their wide receivers to run complicated routes. But for Ferguson, he does what we need him to do. Now, compared to Mason Taylor, not as much of a finished product in terms of blocking ability. He's a willing blocker. He fires off the snap when asked to. He'll engage with defenders, but he can struggle physically. He's not as technically sound in his handwork. He can hit his assignments, which is good. So it's good enough. He's not a liability. He's not a tight end that you can't play on with his hand in the dirt at the line of scrimmage when needed. I do think he's a tight end who you're going to prefer to have lined up split in or move around the field a little bit, essentially a quasi wide receiver. And that role is becoming more and more popular in the NFL. But John, a player who I don't think he is becoming more and more popular among draft nicks, but I told John I need to talk about this player. We got to get him in the show. And that's running back Woody Marks, who should be more popular. He deserves more attention. What am I missing here on the running back out of USC, who we've known for a long time, John, because college fans and college fantasy football players have been tracking him all the way back to his very productive Mississippi State days.
When the season ended, there was chatter about Woody Marks because I think they looked at his number of catches, and we'll talk about that amazing stat down the road. But I agree, the running back class is so deep. He's definitely gone under the radar, and he's worth discussing. He played 4 seasons at Mississippi State from 2020 to 2023. He transferred to USC last year, and he logged his first 1,000-yard campaign. He had 198 carries for 1,133 yards and 9 touchdowns, averaging 5.7 yards per carry. He was second team all Big Ten. But what we both alluded to is why were people interested in him a while ago. From 2020 to 2022, in Mike Leach's pass-happy offense, Matt, he recorded 60, 83, yes, people, 83 and 48 catches in 3 consecutive seasons. As a freshman, he led the nation in catches by all the running backs. As a sophomore, he had the most receptions by a runner in school history for the Bulldogs. I like the fact that he transferred schools and showed us his ability to run the football for the Trojans. We just didn't have much of it on tape at Mississippi State. At the combine, I liked his athleticism. It didn't pop off the page, but 4.54 in the 40 and 4.24 in the 20-yard shuttle are nice. Matt, my model says he's fascinating. 5'10", 207. He has a BMI of 29.7. He had a 28% market share this year of the Trojans offense and 261 career receptions. Matt, there's a role for this young man in the NFL. What do you think fantasy footballers should think about his role on their team?
I'm glad you mentioned that transfer to USC because what we've seen is Woody Marks be able to be successful in 3 different offensive styles. He started off in the Mike Leach air raid offense, which is where he was this heavy receiving weapon. He had 1 season in the Zach Arnett offense at Mississippi State before transferring to play in the Lincoln Riley offense at USC. And you mentioned it too. He really was more of a running back. And I think what we saw, and what that proved for me at least, is his ability to be a patient runner, his ability to win inside and out. You think of a pass catching specialist and you think of a small running back. He's 5'10, 207, and he knocked around in between the tackles. And again, USC playing in the Big Ten. He was physical. Is he the most physical running back? No, but he's physical enough. He wins in tight space. He's got good vision. He anticipates well. I love his start-stop explosive ability. He is one of the best in this class in terms of start-stop ability, but it's his hands, great hands, awesome reaction skill. He is a legitimate route runner. All right, he's running wheel routes, he's running slants, he's running drags, he's winning over the middle of the field. He knows how to separate from defensive backs. So you can line him up in the backfield, or you could line him up in the slot. You can move him around, and a creative-minded coach is absolutely going to love to draft this guy. And he might be drafted round 6 or round 7. That's absolutely fine with me. I'm not worried about it because of that well-rounded skill set. He wins on the ground. He wins through the air. I mentioned it, I'm a little thrown off that he's not more popular, but if that means he falls to the 4th round of rookie drafts or undrafted in a standard 48-pick rookie draft, I am absolutely okay with that because I'm going to be soaking up that value. I expect to have 70% plus exposure to Woody Marks. This is a sleepers episode. Woody Marks is absolutely my sleeper. Somebody, John, who is generally unpopular. Let's just call it what it is. He is not popular. He's kind of been lost from the narrative a little bit, but I do still think he's going to get pretty solid draft capital, probably early day 3 draft capital. And that's running back Trevor Etienne out of Georgia. We need to talk about him because despite the fantasy community wanting to totally write him off, I think he's going to be relevant when the rookie drafts actually come around.
I think there's 2 things that are interesting about Trevor Etienne. One, he's actually smaller than Woody Marks. And if you ask most people, I don't think they would expect Trevor Etienne to be smaller. 2, I think the NFL is going to like Etienne more than the production models and your casual fantasy football fan. He is a Georgia back. He did play in the SEC. I do think they're going to like him. He also is the brother of Travis Etienne. Let's just get that out of there. But I'll say overall, as a college fantasy football fan, Matt, he's not as productive as I had hoped, which I think is kind of dragging him down when people put him into their running back models. He originally goes to Florida, and in 2022, he has 118 carries for 719 yards and 6 touchdowns. And Matt, I really like the Florida tape as a freshman. People, go back and watch some. I think he's really, really good. I was really impressed. And he was freshman all SEC that year. In 2023, he had 131 carries for 753 yards and 8 touchdowns. I'm still surprised, Matt, to this day that he transferred out of Georgia and transferred out of Florida, went to Georgia. Still kind of just strange to me. He had 122 carries for 609 yards and 9 touchdowns. In his 3 seasons, he had 62 catches, 432 yards, and a score. Now, I mentioned 3 seasons. I'm surprised he came out. So I think he got good news from the NFL committee on his draft stock. And at the combine, he ran the 4.42. I did not expect that in the 40. Matt, there's a reason why we're highlighting him. Tell everyone what you like when you saw the film.
He's been the most interesting running back for me because you mentioned it, great freshman season. He's been on our Devy radar for a good bit. And honestly, going into summer scouting, so going into my process of watching his 2023 tape, and that happened back in July of 2024, so almost a full year ago, I had low expectations because the usage never really got there at Florida. But I flipped on the Florida tape and I saw a really dynamic, explosive player who really won consistently in between the tackles. So I got very excited and I bumped him up pretty high in my preseason running back rankings. And then we get into the season. The production's not really there. But when I was watching the Georgia games, he did pop for me. But the stats, the box score never really showed it. So when I went into watching his film review, so this 2024 film back in December, I said to myself, I don't know. I'm not as excited. I was a little disappointed with the season. And then I flipped on the tape and I really liked his tape. I saw somebody who fires off the snap. I saw somebody with quick, sharp footwork, especially in between the tackles. I saw somebody who's elusive in tight space. He's physically willing and he wins leverage. We need to talk about the frame. The frame is very interesting to me. He's 5'9", 198. We never like when our running backs come in sub 200. But his frame, he's maybe 5'9". I know he's 5'9", but is he 5'9"? He is compact and he's muscular. He's built well. And so he uses that smaller frame to win leverage consistently, right? And that makes him look like a more powerful runner than you would expect for a guy who's 198. If you're seeing you're hearing sub 200 and you're seeing in your head a light player, throw that out. He's not. He's very tight, compact, and he is physically strong and willing. Here's my challenge with Trevor Etienne. He struggles outside the tackles. And that's really, for me, where I'm willing to say, that's his limitation. And that's where I'm willing to back off of my love a little bit for him. I do think he struggles, C gap to off tackle and really struggles in that range to feel space well. And so I think that's got to be blocked very cleanly for him. But in terms of being able to win in between the tackles, win in short yardage situations, I think he's a perfectly reliable check down option through the passing game. Never more than 130 carries in a season. That's a little odd. You could look at it the other way and say he's got really fresh legs heading into the NFL. He's certainly an interesting player. You don't have to love him, but I do think you should like him. And I do think that he is a worthwhile player to be considering mid, late third round, early fourth round, maybe even mid fourth round of your rookie drafts. He's going to have a first 4-round ADP, and he deserves to get some attention here. But the last player that we are finishing this episode with, nobody's talking about him. And he's the definition of a sleeper here. He deserves some attention. And that is running back Tahj Brooks out of Texas Tech.
Matt, I've kept this under my hat for a while. I have mentioned him on some shows I've appeared on, because Matt and I appear as guests and so-called experts on draft episodes, and they always ask me my sleepers, right? It's a common question. And I've said Tahj Brooks is one of my favorite late round sleepers. Matt, I like my big back, so I already am biased. 5'9", 214, Matt, with a BMI of 31.6. I mean, he is powerful, compact. In general, I haven't looked at Texas Tech over the last 12 years for runners, and he's the first runner with 1,000 yards since DeAndre Washington in 2015. That's partly because of the air raid offense. They're not sending out a lot of elite level backs. He enters college in 2020 at Texas Tech as a 3-star recruit. And over the first 3 seasons, there's COVID in 2020. And then he's kind of sharing the backfield, even though he did lead the team in rushing the first 2 years. But man, he just explodes over the last 2 crusades. In 2023, all-man Matt, 290 carries for 1,538 yards and 10 touchdowns. First team all Big 12. 2024, he comes back. 286 carries for 1,505 yards and 17 touchdowns. He was second team all Big 12. I know the NFL is going to respect his workload because he's shown that he can carry the ball that often. He's been a two-time semifinalist for the Doak Walker and the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Awards. And in the past 3 seasons, Matt, 26, 29, and 28 catches for 164, 72, and 199 yards. Now, I don't think he's a great pass catcher. He's not a great route runner, but he has shown that he can be serviceable. But I mentioned it before that 31.6 BMI is incredible. And at the combine, Matt, I was sold. 20-yard shuttle, 4.06. 3-cone drill, 6.90. Matt, my model likes him. 28% of the scrimmage yard share, 102 career receptions. And I could not believe this when I went to PFF. 41 runs of over 10 plus yards. Matt, he might be the best deal in ADP right now as a 4th round pick. What do you love about him?
Yeah, listen, we don't blame any of our viewers and listeners if you're not, spending your Saturdays watching Texas Tech football. But guess who is? We are, because we love this. And I got to tell you, 5'9", 214, that's a nice size. He's a compact. This man's a bowling ball, right?
He
wins leverage. And I think he dropped for the combine, to be able to test well. I think he's going to play closer to 222, 225. So consider him more in the 220s. And you win leverage very well. That's a good frame, 5'9", 220. You get the best of both worlds there. He is physical between the tackles. He plays like a bowling ball. But he pairs that with good lateral quickness and some really surprising elusiveness. The way he plays, he really shocks you with that footwork, how light he is on his feet. He wins with contact balance. He's willing to engage with defenders. He's physical and he powers through them. And once he gets moving downfield, he's got good downfield acceleration. Now, in terms of explosiveness, I think he's a little limited. He can get off the line of scrimmage, but I do think he lacks a second gear. And so I think maybe he's getting lost in a little bit of that. But John, you mentioned the athleticism is there. And so you can kind of counteract that. He's not the most, talented or jumps off the page pass catcher, but that's fine. We don't have a problem with drops. It's not an issue there. He's a reliable checkdown option. And even if that means 30 to 35 targets each season in the NFL, that's perfectly fine. If he can find himself in a role where he's getting, 180 to 200 touches on the ground, he still very much can be an impactful fantasy football guy. Probably not somebody who's going to get drafted into a starting role on an NFL team, but somebody that you want to be looking at late in your drafts to stash, wait for his opportunity, because he absolutely has the talent and the skill set to be able to be productive when he gets the opportunity. But there is no better opportunity than today, right now, as you're watching this video, to head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard to get access to our rookie rankings, rookie guide, Discord, one-on-one draft calls, so much more available over there as we get ready for the NFL draft that is just weeks away. In your subsequent rookie drafts, we are here to help you win those rookie drafts and win those dynasty fantasy football championships. We got more content coming your way because class is in session all draft season long. We're going to be back real soon with some more rookie content.